The stablecoin market just crossed $102 billion in growth inside a single year. And somewhere buried inside that headline is a detail that most XRP investors are completely misreading. You're watching Coin Crusader, and this one is worth slowing down for. Here's the thing people keep getting wrong. When RLUSD started gaining traction, the immediate reaction from critics was predictable. Ripple is just building another stablecoin. XRP is being sidelined. The bridge currency narrative is dead. That argument sounded reasonable a year ago. Today, the numbers tell a very different story. Back in early March, the split was lopsided. Roughly $1.2 billion worth of RLUSD was sitting on the Ethereum network. The XRP Ledger had around $345 million. That gap looked significant. But then something started shifting. Fast forward to now, and the XRP Ledger is carrying nearly $785 million in RLUSD. Ethereum is at $812 million. That's not a gap anymore, that's a race. And the XRP Ledger is right behind the leader. The question is, what happens when it crosses? But here's where most people stop and miss the bigger point entirely. The supply shift matters, yes. But what actually moves markets is transfer volume. Real transactions, real settlement, real utility. And on that front, $2.3 billion in RLUSD volume has already moved through the XRP Ledger, with XRP functioning as the gas token. It's not a massive number yet, but it confirms the mechanism is working. The plumbing is real. And this is the part that's easy to overlook. Stablecoins cannot be bridge currencies. A stablecoin pegged to the dollar cannot facilitate instant conversion between the dollar and the Mexican peso, or between any two fiat currencies, without something underneath it doing the heavy lifting. XRP is that layer. RLUSD is the passenger. XRP is the vehicle. That raises an entirely different question, one about where RLUSD is actually being positioned globally. Ripple's own regulatory footprint for RLUSD tells a deliberate story. Most stablecoin issuers chase exchange listings. Ripple has been chasing jurisdictions. The difference matters. RLUSD launched under approval from the New York Department of Financial Services, one of the most demanding financial regulators anywhere in the world. It's issued through Standard Custody, Ripple's NYDFS-regulated trust company. That means reserve requirements, compliance infrastructure, and oversight that most other stablecoin issuers, including Tether, simply don't have. Then came the UAE. First, Dubai's DFSA greenlit RLUSD for use inside the Dubai International Financial Center. Then Abu Dhabi's FSRA recognized it as an accepted fiat reference token within ADGM. Two of the most important financial hubs in the Middle East, secured inside 1 year. And this is the part most people are missing. Ripple has now received preliminary approval for a Luxembourg CASP license under MiCA. Combine that with their existing EMI license, and Ripple is positioned to offer regulated stablecoin infrastructure across all 30 countries of the European Economic Area. That's not a niche play, that's a continental footprint. New York, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Luxembourg, and the UK is being worked on too. When you map those dots on a globe, a pattern becomes very clear. Ripple isn't building a stablecoin. It's building a globally regulated settlement infrastructure layer, and RLUSD is the asset running on top of it. At first glance, this seems like regulatory paperwork, but the implications are much bigger. Mike Higgins, the head of Ripple Prime, formerly known as Hidden Road, broke this down recently in a way that most people haven't heard explain this clearly. He pointed out that traditional prime brokerage and clearing infrastructure operates on business days. That's roughly 225 trading days per year. It doesn't understand weekends, holidays, or the concept of 24-hour availability. But if you can move collateral using a stablecoin on the XRP Ledger around the clock, 7 days a week, something fundamental changes. Trading firms and clearinghouses can suddenly operate 365 days a year. The addressable market for prime brokerage just grew by a significant number of hours and days. RLUSD isn't just a payment tool. It's a collateral tool that extends the operational window of institutional finance. There's another angle to this that connects directly to XRP's future role. Bitso, one of Latin America's largest crypto platforms, has announced the launch of MXNB, a regulated Mexican peso-backed stablecoin. It will be issued on the XRP Ledger and integrated directly into Ripple's payment stack using the DEX infrastructure. Think about what that creates. RLUSD representing dollars, MXNB representing pesos, both living on the same ledger, with XRP functioning as the bridge between them. That is the FX market, foreign exchange, being reconstructed natively on-chain. Ripple's stablecoin report puts some scale to all of this. North American stablecoin activity settled over $5.3 trillion in volume, representing 16% of global activity. That means more than 80% of stablecoin transactions are happening outside North America. Latin America, Europe, Africa, Asia, these are the regions where Ripple has been quietly building regulatory presence and partnership networks. Then another detail appeared in this same report. On-chain stablecoin transaction volume surged 74% in 2025, hitting $33.4 trillion for the year, with December setting a new all-time monthly record. The Genius Act accelerating regulatory clarity played a role, but the more important signal is that institutional players are no longer watching from a distance. Every major bank, hedge fund, and financial institution is now looking seriously at stablecoin infrastructure, because the ones that don't will find that firms like Ripple have already captured the ground they were standing on. RLUSD's market cap has grown 280% in the past year, reaching $1.63 billion. That growth happened without the full clarity of U.S. stablecoin legislation. It happened without waiting for a perfect regulatory environment. Tether didn't wait either, and Ripple appears to be following the same playbook. Build regulated infrastructure, expand jurisdiction by jurisdiction, and let adoption follow the compliance footprint. The RLUSD story has always been bigger than a stablecoin launch. What's becoming clear now is that it was a construction project from the beginning, building the regulated rails that XRP can run on across multiple financial regions simultaneously. The real question isn't whether RLUSD keeps growing. Based on the data, that answer seems straightforward. The real question is what happens when volume on the XRP ledger flips Ethereum, and whether the market is paying attention before that number actually hits.